Did you just sprain your ankle? Did you know that resting might actually make your ankle sprain worse? My name is Dr. Marco Lopez, Doctor of Physical Therapy and Certified Strength and Conditioning Specialist and co-founder of the Basketball Doctors. So we've all been there. We sprained our ankle. It hurts like crazy and then it swells up and people just tell you, hey, just ice it and rest it. But did you know that resting might actually harm your recovery? And we're going to talk about it now. So before we go further, I just want to point out, if you have a fracture from that ankle sprain, you still want to rest. So that's highly recommended for you to rest. But let's say you ruled out a fracture, you got the x-rays, and we have a video talking about the auto rules to make sure, see if you need to have an x-ray after you sprained your ankle. Check out the description below. But when it comes to an ankle sprain, everyone kind of gets used to that RICE method where it's that rest, ice, compression, elevation. But that focuses too much on rest and immobilization where you don't move the ankle. But now research has shown, and the new studies, is you want to have early mobilization. It's going to help speed up the recovery, get you back faster, and get your ankle in a better position to get back onto the court. So we're going to talk about the big three things why resting might actually make your ankle sprain worse and some of the solutions we have for it. So the first big problem when it comes to over resting your ankle or just having it immobilized is joint tightness. So what happens is when you sprain your ankle, one of the big things you really want to start getting back is your dorsiflexion range of motion and just overall your mobility. But when you're resting it or have a boot or you're just immobilized, your foot's not moving. And when your foot's not moving, the joint actually starts tightening up. And that joint then's going to limit our ability to point our foot up, point our foot down to the side, to the outside. So it's really going to limit the mobility. And that's crucial, like I mentioned, because if you don't have good ankle mobility, when you start walking, you're going to start walking with a huge limp because you don't have that good dorsiflexion range of motion. Also, it's going to affect the ability for us to activate other muscles because the ankle just doesn't want to move. So we highly recommend early mobilization as part of our rehab approach, what we'll talk about later. But that's the main component when it comes to immobilization. The joint just gets very stiff. And when you have a stiff joint, then the muscles tighten up as well. So not only do you have to fight muscle tightness, but also joint stiffness. So that's the big first problem when it comes to resting too much. The second big problem is muscle weakness. And when it comes to muscle weakness, we're not just talking about muscle weakness in the foot, but the whole chain. So what happens is when you're not putting weight on your foot and it's immobilizing and it's resting too much, the muscle atrophy begins to come fast. And that's the big thing when it comes to rehab. We want to minimize muscular atrophy. And what happens is when you're not putting that weight, all the muscles just get weaker and weaker, and you'll be surprised how much weaker you get with prolonged bed rest, meaning not using that foot. So when it comes to this, we really want to start activating muscles early on. That's why even just some gentle isometrics, gentle slight movements will help activate these muscles and minimize the muscle loss that you're going to have. Because as the ligament is healing, you have to get that strength. As you're resting, this strength is just going to get worse and worse. So we want to minimize as much loss as we can by doing simple exercises. So that's the big problem when it comes to over resting when it comes to an ankle sprain. All right, guys, so we have joint stiffness, we have muscle weakness, then we have loss of proprioception. And proprioception, just think about it as your foot's GPS, where your foot needs to know where it's at in space. So when you're not using your foot, it starts losing that proprioception. And also because you injure the ligament, ligaments have the proprioception factors in their ligaments itself. So you got to restore that as much as you can because that's going to help reduce your risk for future ankle sprains as well. So that's the big thing when we have people with these ankle sprains is we try to encourage some weight bearing right away. Even if you're using some crutches, just your foot contact with the ground helps stabilize your foot right away. We obviously don't want you to go play basketball right after your ankle sprain where we overuse that foot, but we want to start getting some light little movement to start getting that proprioception back in the foot and ankle. And that's hard for people to really understand, but that's the big thing when it comes to the ankle sprain. When you injure the ligament, you lose that proprioception and you're not using the foot, so it just makes the proprioception worse. And that's a big factor in decreasing your risk for chronic ankle instability, and future ankle sprains down the line. Talked about the top 3 reasons why resting your ankle sprain is making your recovery worse. So 1, the joint stiffness, 2, the muscle weakness, and 3, the lack of proprioception. And the ways to fight this is we want to start early mobilization. Even if it's with crutches, we want to go weight bearing as tolerated. And this is after you're cleared from any fracture. Once you get some weight bearing as tolerated, you want to start with some simple just movements to get the foot and ankle moving, even just drawing the alphabet. As simple that is, that gets the joint moving, decreasing that stiffness. 2, in regards to the muscle weakness, just adding in some isometric exercises, just resisting little perturbations to your foot, just having a band, trying to resist that. These isometric contractions are a good way to minimize strength loss and atrophy. The third one, proprioception, that's where we start encouraging for that weight bearing as tolerated. So you can use a crutch, just having your foot planted on the ground, even just standing, not even walking, is going to give you a proprioception feedback. And if you guys have any questions regarding ankle sprains, we have a huge ankle sprain rehab that can get you back from an ankle sprain all the way back to sport, with several return to sport testing in there to make sure you're in the right track. And when it comes to an ankle sprain, you want to make sure you do these return to sport testing, because if you don't, it increases your risk for future ankle sprains and even issues up the chain. So hopefully you guys like this video. If you guys have any questions regarding ankle sprain in regards to resting, just comment below. We'll try to answer them. And share this video with friends and family. Subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and like this video. And if you guys have any questions or need help with your rehab, send us an email. But we are the Basketball Doctors. Let's ball for life.